Taipei Security Dialogue, it took place at quite an important moment, and I think there were really perhaps three central themes that came out of the event. It's an annual event. It's been taking place for a couple of years now. So a common theme, which I think has been there from the very beginning, is, of course, trying to understand what China is doing. And I think in this conversation that took place at the conference, the military threat from China remains paramount, but there's a growing awareness that China perhaps represents a more serious immediate challenge in this area of grey zone activity, that is putting pressure on Taiwan short of military force through maritime interventions in its sea space, overflights, sort of lawfare, to gradually change the facts on the ground, and so to get Taiwan to come back really without having to fire a shot. And the second theme that comes out of that was starting to think through what Taiwan can do to push back sort of on the issues of resilience and societal defense. So thinking through their stockpiling, how to do convoys in the event of a blockade. So this is a new area, I think, where they've been doing a lot of thinking in the past about invasion scenarios. Now we're looking more at how to manage what essentially might be a blockade of Taiwan, when China's main aim would be to not go high enough in terms of actually getting the US to intervene. And then the third issue that really, I think, stuck out was anxiety about where the US now stands on Taiwan. I mean, there was a lack of high-level US engagement. We've seen that in other events across the region, but a sense that not really sure where Trump stands on Taiwan, although the signal from the Pentagon continues to be that the relationship remains as before, but uncertainty about whether Trump will wish to prioritize the economic relationship over China, and then Taiwan may suffer. So throughout, I think, the conversations, there was a sense of trying to understand now what the US position is on the island. I mean, there's a growing awareness, I think, in Europe, first of all, about the nature of the threat that China represents, which is also, I think, an awareness that China represents quite a challenge in global order questions. And so actually you can't simply see China as a regional security question for Europe. There has to be thinking beyond that. And as part of that, we also see a stepping up of European engagement on military issues in the Indo-Pacific. So in fact, there were quite a number of European representatives at the Taipei Security Dialogue, and we've seen Germany, Italy, France, and the UK deploying military forces to the region this year. The UK's had its carrier strike group and did, together with the United States, a Straits transit, sort of highlighting the rules-based order. And one of the themes, I think, that particularly that Taiwan is very keen to highlight is this indivisibility of security between Europe and that region, and that Ukraine and Taiwan essentially are the same set of issues, that if one of them is taken against the will of that government, it creates a precedent for autocratic regimes around the world. But it's still, I think, the priority in Europe is still very much dominated by Russia. And there needs to be perhaps more thinking about that, and also more thinking amongst the Europeans about how to coordinate better their engagements. I mean, the fact that we've had 4 major European powers in the region this year is positive, but then, of course, there may well be a gap next year because everyone has gone together. So thinking through how we can do a more coordinated engagement, I think, will be a strong signal. And the European support for Taiwan and the wider region is unlikely to be primarily military. It has to be across a wide range of other issues, but also taking into account the awareness that a Taiwan contingency would impact Europe economically, not least because the impact on global shipping, global instability, supply chains would feed back very quickly and affect the Europeans.